So, after the last podcast, knowing to dig your heels in, I thought that I would just go ahead and do another one. I've got quite a commute today, and I've got the time. So, I'm going to try recording as we keep on going today, see if I can knock out 2 in a day, which will be a first. One thing I wanted to talk about real quick before we get into the discussion for this show is how I got my nickname. So almost 5 years ago, I started working at a rather large factory, and I had a forklift driver that gave me this nickname. What was funny is he wasn't on my team. I didn't know the guy's name even at the time, but he gave me this nickname just due to the working pace that I managed to hold while continuing to keep production moving. Big Smooth. And the nickname has become so prevalent that there are people in the building that do not know my name. One time there was a issue with payroll. Long and short, there's a gentleman that works on the same team as me at the time, or worked on the same team as me at the time, who had the same last name as me, and he had called in one day, and our payroll ended up getting flipped. So he got paid my personal time. No, he got paid my work time the previous night when he took the day off, and I got paid my personal time. So we ended up having to talk to the supervisor about it to get it fixed, and it took a while. But anyway, during the initial discussions, she's like, "Who's that? I don't know who that is." Big Smooth. Oh, Big Smooth. I didn't know that was his name. And I've had several coworkers who didn't even know my name because I'm just known by Big Smooth. So, now you know how the podcast nickname came into being and how prevalent the nickname is in my workplace. My youngest child is referred to as Little Smooth when I show pictures to coworkers, because when you're a parent, that's just what you do. While back, we went on vacation, and there was a destination that we went to that allowed you to sign the building, and I signed it the Smooths. So it's prevalent nickname where I'm at on night shift. Anyway, today's topic, a couple weeks back, I saw an ad that really surprised me. Now, I have not done any research on this. There's a few things that I do know that are slightly outside this topic, but related. Anyway, there was a ad I saw, I forget what website, it might have been on YouTube, I don't remember, but essentially it was for a Christian Facebook. One of the stories in this ad said that a guy had put a post in like a community group or whatever, and he was looking for a Christian roommate. That way he wouldn't be as likely to have to put up with behavior that he didn't want to have to deal with as a homeowner or the primary lessee on an apartment. According to this guy, the ad was instantly removed, got no attention at all. It was down within minutes. So, and there's this ad contained that Facebook is censoring certain things and making it difficult for certain people to get out a political point of view by removing certain posts, making it difficult for Christians to openly share their beliefs due to it being tagged as offensive. Sorry, folks. Gotta do what you gotta do. I might just I'll edit that out later, probably. You might not see it. Anyway. This guy, the ad goes on and tells a couple other stories, and some of the people were a little over the top with just dislike for Facebook. I've got nothing against Facebook in and of itself. I do think that social media, if done properly, can be a good thing. I think that overuse of it is a bad thing. I think overuse of it is actually fairly common. I say that while I'm sitting here podcasting. But anyway, the gist of where I wanted to go with today's show was, I think Facebook is screwing up. Several years back, there were several gun buy, sell, and trade groups on Facebook. If you had a gun that you wanted to get rid of, you could post pictures of it online. People could look, comment, message, and make arrangements to purchase the weapon. I know this for a verifiable fact because my dad came into ownership of a weapon that he wanted to get rid of. A friend of his sold it to him or willed it to him. I forget. The friend was hard up for cash. Retired guy that was in very poor health, and his medical bills were pretty big. If I'm remembering where this gun came from correctly. Well, anyway, I ended up posting the gun online, and a guy I used to work with messaged me and was interested and ended up purchasing the weapon. Old lever action Winchester. You can't do that today. Facebook decided that there will be no gun sales ads on its website, and that let websites such as Gunbroker, among others, take a bigger market share for that internet traffic. Now, there are things I disagree with Facebook on, but I think Facebook isn't looking out for its own best interests personally. I remember when the people that were in the gun sell and trade groups when those groups first got taken down, people were taking pictures of their guns next to anything. It could have been a soda can or put on a bed sheet or whatever, a bed sheet for sale. And then they'd give the description of the gun in place, or the bed sheet in place of the gun, and try to sell a bed sheet. Some of those ads were kind of funny, but Facebook ended up taking those down too because they just started targeting posts that had guns in the picture. And they would scrutinize those a little bit more, and if they were in any way trying to barter with firearms, they would end up getting taken down. Now, I'm not Now, there is an argument that you shouldn't be able to buy, sell, or trade guns without background checks and all that. I kind of agree. And that's odd coming from me because I am very much a gun rights advocate. But if you want to make the argument that it would be illegal for me to sell a gun to a family member without us going down to the sheriff's office and filling out the paperwork, I'll hear it. However, in all these places, I would wager that a very high percentage of the transactions were legal. At least the ones in Kentucky, because Kentucky has no requirements for that. I gave away the state where I live. So, anyway, I know Facebook for a fact started targeting those sell and trade groups. You also cannot sell livestock on Facebook anymore. Or pets. But the thing that I think is concerning is that Facebook is going to become its own echo chamber. If Facebook tomorrow went out and said that they were, in 30 days, they were going to ban all conservative content. Conservative, Republican, right-leaning content. They were going to take it down. If you got busted posting that, they would give you a strike on your profile for community violations, 30-day bans or whatever. And after so much in a certain amount of time, your profile gets taken down. My opinion, that would be the biggest launching pad for an alternative social media that Facebook could possibly put out. And here's why I say that. Okay, if you consider the election in 2016, I know that Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 3 or 7 million more votes than Trump did, but Trump took the Electoral College. Okay, that's fine. But there's a pretty close split on the amount of Democrats to Republicans, or libertarian, or conservatives to liberals, however you want to cut it, in the United States. Pretty close split. If Facebook started taking down Republican profiles after content violations, they would have nowhere to go. If a business could launch itself knowing the market share that's already out there, which the information is not crystal clear, but it would get you in the ballpark of users. They know that the Facebook model works as far as the way to put out ads and to generate revenue. So they know that works to make money. If a business could start itself and say, we're going to get 40% of Facebook's business, that's a healthy business. And if Facebook's censoring right-leaning points of view off of their platform, the likelihood that you could get those customers is pretty high, and your customer acquisition costs will be very low because, hey, tired of Facebook censoring all your content, here you go. So I think that Facebook is shooting itself in the foot, or could shoot itself in the foot with these censorship rules, and if they ended up banning conservative talk, they would end up becoming their own echo chamber, because conservatives would end up leaving the platform. Liberals and leftists would have Facebook to themselves, and it would be their own echo chamber. Sure, you're going to have the people that don't care to post a bunch of political stuff, and it's just going to be kittens and puppies and babies and hobbies. But from strictly a political point of view, Facebook's going to be just this large Democrat echo chamber. And no one on that platform would be able to discuss ideas, because people that had other ideas would end up being removed from the platform if what I'm saying happened. And the same goes for Republicans. If there became a conservative book, just trademark. If that ever happens, I get a royalty now. But if that ever happened, you would have a ton of Republicans and like-minded people in their own echo chamber, and their ideas would never be challenged, which I think is bad. I think if you're going to propose an idea or believe in something, that you need to have your belief in that idea challenged somewhat, just to prove that you've thought it through. And I think that you need to be able to argue why it will work and show evidence. There's evidence to show that more gun regulation equals more violence, because the criminals were going to break the laws anyways. And it takes guns out of the hands of the law-abiding citizens and gives the criminals unarmed victims. There's evidence to support that. There's very little evidence that I've found personally that proves that gun control reduces gun violence. What's interesting is if you look at gun violence per 1,000, which that averages out, like I understand, if you go back historically, the population of the planet drops drastically pre-industrial age. But when you go back into the 1880s, the percentage of gun violence was less in the Wild West than it is in some major cities today. And I'd imagine that there was the same percentage of just bad people. People that didn't care what the law was, people that had little to no regard for human life, people that if they wanted to kill someone, they wouldn't have to look far to find a reason. But there were fewer deaths per 1,000 people than there are in modern large cities. And I think part of that's because they knew that, hey, if you get caught killing somebody or try to kill somebody, they're going to try to kill you back. And then everybody else had a gun, and they just might kill you anyway. So I think that gun regulation does not mean less gun violence. Well, anyway, back to the Facebook thing, you could have both parties on their respective social media platforms arguing all these points to themselves, and everyone's going to agree with them, basically. And nothing's going to get accomplished because, smart gun control, comprehensive background checks, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we need to do that. Okay. No gun regulations. We were safer in the 1880s in the Wild West than we are in big cities today. Yeah, we need to do that. Well, guess what? Nothing's getting discussed. Because, okay, I like some of the lines that have been drawn on firearms, such as, no felony ownership of firearms. I know felon ownership of firearms. I think that's a good thing. There wasn't that in the 1880s, probably. And even if there was, all that guy had to do was go somewhere where he wasn't known, pick up a gun, and come back. Problem solved. Now you've got national databases that are based in D.C. that control who can and can't get a gun. And that background check can be processed through in a matter of minutes. I know, I've done it. So, I don't think that isolating political discussions on separate platforms is an answer to any of the problems facing America today. I've gotten into political debates on Facebook, and I try to refrain from talking down to people, even if I'm talked down to. I try to simply show the statistics. I'll be back in a minute.